Well, hi there. So in this video, we're going to do some practice with supply and demand where we put them together and see what happens with changes in equilibrium. So let's get started. So for all of these four graphs that are at the top, it says draw a correctly labeled graph of the market for blueberries. And that's going to be important because some of these aren't going to necessarily be blueberry, granola, or things like that. So we remember it's blueberries that we're actually marketing. So we're going to first draw a little picture here, P and Q, and we're going to drop down our demand curve and our little supply curve. Put a little P star, Q star right here. Look at that. Oh, that's beautiful, beautiful. I bet yours is nice too. It says more people buy granola, a compliment, good. And if people are buying granola, then we would expect that people are also probably buying more blueberries as well with this. One piece of this that I was kind of thinking about with it is that if there's demand, though, increasing for granola, the price is going to be going up for granola. And so this question, I think, is a little bit tricky, but let's kind of stick with price going up in that sense. And that will hopefully help us understand what's going on here. So if there's more people buying granola, I know that this says complement good, so we would assume that people are going to be probably buying more blueberries to go with it. But usually when you see something like complement here, it's saying, well, the price of one is going to affect the other one. And so if there's more price on this one, higher price because there's more demand, it's actually going to cause there to be a lower demand here for blueberries. Again, I know that seems like really counterintuitive, but imagine maybe people are buying granola and they don't always buy the blueberries with them. But if the granola is going up in price, we do know that there will be less demand for the blueberries. I think in the future years, I'm probably going to change that one a little bit, just because I don't like how the implication here at the beginning is obviously that you would buy the granola and of course you're buying the blueberries to go with it. So on an exam or something, it would be a heck of a lot clearer than that. B, an increase in the supply of strawberries is substitute good. And so this one, I probably would kind of thinking about like this supply increasing is going to cause the strawberry price to decrease, right? And so we would think that if the strawberries and the blueberries are substitutes and the strawberries are getting cheaper, then it's going to reduce the demand for the blueberries. So we would expect that, you go from, say, a P star to a P1, and we'd go from a Q star to a Q1. And again, that's because there's more supply of the strawberries, the cheaper the strawberries, and so people are going to buy those instead. C, an increase in the price of farmland used to grow the blueberries. So that's an input cost, and that's going to change the supply of the blueberries. If it's more expensive to buy farmland, well, we're not going to produce as many blueberries, shifting that supply curve to the left. And so we're going to have less quantity. Q star goes down to Q1, and we're going to have higher prices. P star goes up to P1. For letter D, a decrease in the price of blueberry harvesting equipment. Again, that's an input cost question. And so if it's cheaper to buy the equipment that used to harvest them, then it's going to be cheaper to produce them. So there's a greater supply. So we would expect prices to go down from P star to P1, and we would expect quantity to rise from Q star to Q1. All right, now the bottom ones here are like different goods, and it's different prompts, and it's asking what happens to price and what happens to quantity. What we're going to try to do is think about like what would be the shifter and then move from there. So the price of leather used to make footballs increased, and if the good is footballs, an input cost, right, it's more expensive to produce them. So we would expect that supply will decrease. Now, if supply decreases for this thing, we know that price is going to rise and quantity is going to fall. Letter B, government raises per gallon gas taxes while larger numbers of people work from home. So this one is going to cause supply to decrease where there's more taxes, and larger number of people's work from home is going to decrease the demand. Now, I told you on the last video, it's really helpful to draw these out. I'm going to draw a little sketch off to the side. Right now that I've identified that supply is decreasing, we go from S to S1, and demand is decreasing, we go from demand to demand 1. So we went from point A to point B, and that's pretty clearly a smaller quantity. It's an indeterminate change in price. So price, I don't know, quantity, smaller, right? So that is a double shift question. It's hard. C, heavy use of pesticides reduces the bee populations. Honey. So this would tell us that like there's going to be less supply of honey because the things that are used to make it. So decreased supply. So that's going to look exactly the same as the first one. Then letter D, more corn is being used to produce ethanol, while heavy use of pesticides allows for bumper crops of corn. A lot of students don't know that means a lot of corn, right? So we would say that there's more demand for corn because it's being used for another purpose. At the very same time, there's more supply of corn. And so we have a double shift again. So I'm going to sketch it off to the side. and we had supply and we had demand, more demand, and then more supply. So we went from point A over to point B. Again, pretty clearly more quantity, pretty clearly indeterminate price, right? So we're going to say price, I don't know, quantity increase. Then we've got an oil spill disrupts fisheries in the Gulf of Mexico and the population of crabs, and crabs are grown in fisheries. So we would say that that's a supply decrease, and that's going to cause the price of them to rise and the quantity to fall. New research suggests eating bananas reduces your cancer, while banana blight destroys global crops. So we've got demand increasing and we've got supply decreasing. So we have another double shift with that one. I'm going to sketch that one down here at the bottom. We could just say if we have what do we say? Demand is increasing. So that's D sub 1, but supply is decreasing, right? So we went from here to here. That's much higher prices, but an indeterminate quantity. So we're going to say price goes up and quantity, I don't know, because it's indeterminate, right? We don't have a good answer here. Letter G, government provides a per vaccine subsidy. That's just going to increase the supply. Whoops, wrote that in the wrong spot. Increase the supply, because when you provide per good subsidies, like, however many you make, you get a certain amount of money per unit, that's going to increase the supply. That will reduce the price and increase the quantity of the good. It's just a straight up supply shift. Peach farm workers unionize for higher wages, while the peach industry launches a successful ad campaign. This is for peaches. So the higher wages are going to reduce the supply of the good, and then the highly successful ad campaign is going to increase the demand. So here we have another double shift. We're going to draw a little picture. And real quick sketch here, less supply, S sub 1, and more demand, D sub 1. So we went from here at S and D to S sub 1 and D sub 1. That's definitely a higher price, and I still can't tell the quantity. So price goes up, and quantity is indeterminate. On an exam, instead of writing these question marks really quick, I would say always write out indeterminate or cannot be determined or something like that. Question mark isn't really enough of a good convention to use. So I get, going, bad, Daniel, bad, don't do that. So make sure you've got a little bit different written down on the exams. Hopefully this helped you. I'll see you next time.